All right, morning everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Brief with your hosts, Tone Vays and Jimmy Song. Man, it's so hard to do these from the road, but finally we are back. Jimmy, how are you? I think you just got back from London.
I did, and it was a great conference, advancing Bitcoin. Lots of developers. The space is just thriving with activity, and there's a lot of progress coming with Taproot and things like that. So very excited about what's up ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually ask you for some details from that conference. I was there last year. Had a little bit of a conflict this year. Decided to go to the Satoshi Roundtable. You've been to the Roundtable before. This
Yeah,
was my
how was
first
that,
one.
Tone? What was that fun, or what was it? What you were expecting?
It was definitely different. And it um seemed like a party for the rich and famous. I don't know how you
Yeah,
felt when you were there.
I mean, there's a reason I don't go anymore, Tone. It's mostly like there are very few Bitcoiners. I think maybe there's like 5 or 6 of them, and you essentially end up hanging out with them the whole time, and lots of shitcoining and things like that. So I try to stay away from that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough. Sorry, guy. I just switched mics. I didn't realize I wasn't utilizing my real mic. Yeah, there are a very limited number of actual Bitcoiners, but once again, I run into the problem of the magical crypto problem, where there are Bitcoiners that want to do nothing but hang out and have fun with like straight up scammers, and that fundamentally bothers me. Which is why I don't go to magical crypto, or why I don't really. I don't like that. Like, if you're a scammer, I don't. I mean, like I'll kind of, be civil, but I'm not gonna like chill for 3 straight days, like hanging out, like we're buddies. And I just don't do that. Like, I can't.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, you learned. I mean, maybe you can put together some sort of like competing conference sometime.
Well, I keep trying, right? Like, I can only do so many. All right. Anyway, let's jump into the stories. Oh, you know what? No. Tell us about it. No. When we get to the Bitcoin section, we're gonna talk about advancing Bitcoin and some of the progress. We got a couple of shitcoin topics. Let's get those out of the way. I refer to them as problems with centralized databases, and I guess let's talk about Ethereum second. But let's talk about Blockstack first. So here we go. So problems with centralized databases, part 1, which is Blockstack, which is trying to build some kind of a thing they refer to as a blockchain. And they have their own, of course, shitcoin that was launched as a security with completely scammy utility use case. And they are basically giving up on one of their biggest things, which was like their app. I started reading this, I got to about this area, and I couldn't read the rest of it. It was just like, it was like painful to go from here to here, and I stopped. You want to fill us in on the details here, Jimmy?
Sure. So Blockstack, like you said, is a token, and they have some sort of decentralized something or other that they were promoting. But essentially, they did what everybody else did that raised a lot of money on ICOs. They tried to get an ecosystem going by bribing people in order to get them to create apps on their platform. And they had a fund like that they were using to incentivize developers to create apps on their platform. And it was hundreds of thousands of dollars worth in Bitcoin and their native token. I think it's called Stack tokens. Every month. Unfortunately, it started to get gamed. So basically, they would app developers would create like super basic apps, like like calculator or something like that level. And basically, they would game it and get all this money. And essentially, what this post is saying is, so yeah, we're going to stop this thing because we're not getting quite the quality that we're looking for. Remember, they've spent millions of dollars on this already. They haven't been able to buy their way into a thriving ecosystem that, like, which is what you try to do with the money that they've raised. And they're by no means like alone in this. EOS has tried to do the same thing. Tron is trying to do the same thing. I'm sure Neo and all these other blockchains are trying to do the same thing. But essentially, it doesn't work because you try to do that unless you have like really good metrics, which none of them do. You end up with crap like that they're getting. The other thing I want to point out about this story is Blockstack is gaming their own system. So they also had a bunch of money locked up from their ICO based on some metrics that they were supposed to hit. And about a week and a half before this post, they unlocked $6.8 million from the ICO based on having 1 million users. Now, if you're thinking there's no way they have 1 million users, that's exactly what I was thinking. It turns out that what they count as a user is just any username that's registered in their database. And they have 1 million of those.
I have to interrupt you. Prior to this garbage that they're building, they were building that, like, create your own name. It was like Namecoin or something. Don't tell me they use those as users, because that would be so sleazy and scammy.
Well, I mean, I don't think they even need to do that. I mean, it's literally just any username that's registered counts as a user. So you create 1 million random users. No one verifies them. There's no ID or anything. They haven't done anything, but you could easily game it so that you can unlock $6.8 million, which is what they did a few days before. So, I mean, it's this is the moral hazard that you fall into when you create your own currency. You can do all sorts of like shady things like these guys are doing, and I mean, they're trying to keep more of the money to themselves by stopping this program, and that's what it seems like.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It wasn't like Namecoin. That was like a shit coin from like 2012 or 13. It was something else. I'm kind of like
One Name, I think.
Which one? One Name, was it?
One Name, maybe. I don't know.
There's been several. Yeah. I don't even remember. I know I never signed up for it, but but yeah. So yeah, no, this is terrible. And it's like, look, when you set your own, I mean, honestly, they didn't even have to do that, right? Like there was. I don't understand why people think that there are these metrics that these lockups of ICO tokens, these metrics that don't allow them to access these coins, why they matter. None of this shit is decentralized. The creators can change the rules at any time. Anytime they can create more tokens, they can unlock tokens. There is no such thing as security of any of this code on a centralized database like Blockstack or Ethereum or EOS or any of them. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, this is what happens, right? Like it's kind of sad, but like it's a moral hazard. If you can print your own money, if you're your own governance, you're gonna do whatever favors you and not care about anybody else. This is why these things don't really work as money. It's you can try, but really you're subject to the whims of the people that are in control. In this case, it's Munib Ali and his friends. For Ethereum, it's Vitalik Buterin and his friends, and so on.
All right, so speaking of Vitalik Buterin and his friends, let's go to centralized databases for 200 and talk about what happened to Plasma on Ethereum. So here we go. I mean, I don't pay attention to the Ethereum ecosystem that much, even though we constantly cover it on this channel. So apparently in 2017, when the Ethereum database was being overloaded, they came up with a scaling solution known as Plasma. Everybody cheered, danced in unicorn costumes and other furry outfits. Vitalik broke it down. This article is actually pretty funny. Talked about how all of these problems with Plasma were very quickly realized. The most hilarious one of them is that there's such an easy way to game the system that the only way to actually process these transactions is to move the entire second layer through the first layer in order to get out of Plasma, basically rendering the first layer useless. Like imagine if every single Lightning transaction had to go through a single block in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So that was basically what would happen to Plasma. I got a really good kick out of that one. So Plasma is going away because no one wants to actually program it. I love it how Ethereum claims to have, 1,800 million developers, but maybe 2 or 3 of them actually know what they're doing. So more developers isn't always better. Now, we always say that we have way more developers in Bitcoin than all this other crap, but we're not talking about the quantity. We're talking about, quality. We're talking about the most number of high quality developers, where Bitcoin just absolutely crushes all these other projects. So Jimmy, want to give us a little more details on Plasma, what happened, why it's failing, and why some of the Ethereum people are now making fun of Bitcoin and Peter Todd pointed this out, like here's how the Ethereum crazies think, that just because Plasma failed and never got off the ground as a second layer scaling solution, and they've moved on to other stupid ideas, that means that Lightning is going to fail. That's how they actually think. All right, go for it. Floor is yours.
All right. So first of all, I want to quibble with something that you said. You said there are like 2 or 3 people that know what they're doing in Ethereum. No, that number is 0. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing over there.
All right, my bad. My bad. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. I figured out of like the 40,000 developers that show up at their conferences, maybe 1 or 2 of them could actually program.
I mean, there are people that could program. Okay, that's fine. It's just that nobody knows what they're doing. Other than marketing, they're very good at marketing. They know what they're doing in that area. But if you're talking about development or good design or things like that, they do not know what the hell they're doing. So Plasma, if you don't know, is the Lightning implementation in Ethereum. And it came out in August 2017 to a lot of hype, especially with Vitalik saying something, and so it begins, plasma.io. And everyone was really happy. It caused the price of Ethereum to rise significantly and so on. And of course, Ethereum, he wrote a white paper and did all this other stuff. And there was a lot of hype around it. And of course, as before with Ethereum itself, it was a lot more complicated than they thought. It had all sorts of incentive problems. They didn't think about the game theory. They didn't think about, like how it would actually work. And their complicated solution, of course, didn't work. And it had a lot of problems. They papered it over with even more complex stuff, and that didn't work. This is what you call just bad software design. And this is what tends to happen when you have bad developers, is that you get sort of like runaway technical debt. You have bad design in the first place, which requires a lot of fixing because it's just badly designed. And then you have even more bad design to cover that up, and you have runaway technical debt. No one can actually finish the actual thing because you can't program fast enough to cover up all of the holes. It's a sinking ship, in other words. This is why Bitcoin goes slow, by the way, because you have to make sure that the system is solid and that you think of all of the cases in which, like the incentives might be wrong and stuff like that. This is why what Lightning developers do most of the time is figure out, okay, in what way can this be attacked? They think very adversarially. Vitalik, on the other hand, is a developer with really no real world software development experience. Remember, he created Ethereum as a 19-year-old. Like that was attending college at the time. He had 0 software experience, yet he acted like an architect and designing the entire Ethereum system, which is why they're so vulnerable to all sorts of stuff. Like,
all right. The only job he's ever had prior to that was writing articles.
Right, and this is very indicative of that, right? Like typically, like a software programmer, when you get out of college, you get some sort of like a junior dev position, so you learn what implementation is actually like. Then you get to be a senior developer, where you get a little more input into design decisions, and then eventually you become something like a software architect, where you can design entire systems based on all of the experience that you have. What happened with Vitalik is that he got kind of thrown into the software architect role, And basically, he made so much money that he hasn't had to actually learn anything. Nobody's actually like slapped him in the face and said, "This is stupid. What are you doing?" I've had that a lot early in my career, and that's how you learn, is by making mistakes. He doesn't ever admit his mistakes. So what's ended up happening is crap like this, like Plasma, which is essentially just a big giant technical mess with runaway technical debt. And at this point, no one's going to continue it. A lot of altcoins end up this way, by the way. It's you get runaway technical debt, and then like nobody really cares to keep it up. And the two developers that were on it go do something else, and the coin lives a zombie existence. And that with Plasma, it's a little different because they don't have their own native coin. It's just it was supposed to be an implementation. I'm sure some people got paid a lot of money to try to develop whatever Vitalik was thinking, but again, he's not a very good architect. He's not a very good designer of software systems. So this is what happens. And I contrast that to Lightning, right? Like Lightning's been iterated on so many times because of the flaws from even the original paper, and it's been improved significantly. There have been soft forks to improve it and make sure that it is absolutely airtight and it is architected well. I would say that Bitcoin is like many orders of magnitude better than this piece of crap.
All right, one more question before we move on to actual Bitcoin. What's ZK rollup?
It's some sort of like zero knowledge, like proof of some kind that lets you prove many things at once. It's I'm sure it's going to also suffer from runaway technical debt, as all Ethereum projects tend to do. They really just don't know what the hell they're doing, and this is the result that you get when you put a 19-year-old with no software development experience in charge behind this stuff. Is you get idiocy, and you have something that no one can implement because it's just badly designed in the first place.
Yeah, and here they are. The Ethereum people are actually making fun of Lightning,
which works and works great, and has all sorts of interesting things happening, and you have new products coming in, you have new use cases coming in. Lightning Labs just raised $10 million. They have a Lightning Loop service, submarine swaps, and all sorts of interesting things happening. And if you've used Lightning lately, you know that it's like a much better connected graph, and you can pay each other very quickly and so on. It's technology that actually works and doesn't have the security vulnerabilities of some crap like Plasma. So, I mean, the Ethereum devs seem to think that the Bitcoin devs are as bad as they are because that's all they know.
All right, well, we're going to go a little bit out of order here because since we kind of started mentioning Lightning, let's skip straight to the Lightning post. Jack Mallers, who appears to be a one-man wrecking crew when it comes to Lightning development, has come up with something really cool, calling it Strike. And it's a way to kind of help all merchants around the world accept Lightning transactions. I have not had a chance to dive into this. I continue to apologize to the Bitcoin community. Oh, by the way, I no longer, I've been correcting people now. I no longer will ever agree to call myself a Bitcoin maximalist. I am now a shitcoin minimalist. That's the new term I am going by. So unfortunately, in my travels, I have not had a chance. I don't really use Lightning at all. And my excuse for not using Lightning is Bitcoin on-chain transactions have been incredibly fast and incredibly cheap. And I have not had the need to actually use Lightning. And maybe it'll stay this way for another 6 months or so that the system is really, really functional and way more user-friendly. And then it'll be easier to switch to it. I'm sure you use Lightning a lot more frequently, Jimmy. And Jack Mallers is coming to Unconfiscatable. Where's the conference? There it is. Jack Mallers is coming to Unconfiscatable. We're going to have him on a panel, on the developer panel, to give us an actual update. Jimmy Song will be there as well, of course. But give us a little update. Have you looked into this? Here is a Strike from Jack Mallers. He did a little quick video on Twitter. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I think the strike may actually change your mind, Tone, because I'm really excited about strike. And
No, I'm excited. I'm excited. I just, like I said, I haven't
no, no,
had the
you're going to want to use it just like because of what it does. So basically, what strike does is they've made it a bridge between fiat and Lightning. So what that means is that if you have a bank card and you use the Strike app, you can put in the details of your debit card into the Strike app. You scan a Lightning invoice with the Strike app. You haven't done anything with Bitcoin so far. You just scan the Lightning invoice with your Strike app. It will pay from your bank account straight to the Lightning invoice. Essentially, what you can do is take fiat money for your goods and services and receive Bitcoin on the other end. So for you, Tone, if you're selling like t-shirts or something like that, and I've
Oh,
done
that's
this
cool.
yeah, I mean, so this is a significant thing. So the ostensible reason why he came up with this was his parents' cannabis business in Colorado, and as you know, in Colorado, marijuana is legal, but it's very hard to get banking relationships because the U.S. federal government makes it very difficult for any bank to work with marijuana dispensaries. So he wanted something for them, and his parents' store gets a lot of customers, but they either have to pay cash, they can't use credit card, they have a debit card, but they can't really use it. They've tried to convince them, get on Lightning, buy some Bitcoin, and then pay us. None of them want to do it. But this, they're really willing to use. Oh, just put in my debit card or my bank account information into the app. Sure, I'll do that. And then they pay, and then they get, marijuana, and they just pay in Lightning. And his parents get to store all their money in Bitcoin. So it's really banking the unbanked. And marijuana dispensaries are literally very much unbanked. So it's a really interesting model because now you don't need government's permission in order to open a bank account. Now you can still take money from people that have dollars, but you receive everything in Bitcoin, and that's exactly what a lot of holders want. And it takes Lightning from sort of like a method of payment usage to a store of value technology, and that's the significance of it in my mind. Because if I'm selling goods and services to other people, I'm a holder. I want Bitcoin. So by having this, it opens up the market for me, not just to Bitcoin holders, but to anybody that has a debit card or a bank account in the United States. And that's gigantic. And that's why I think this is going to be a significant leap forward for Lightning adoption.
This sounds absolutely awesome. So one question that we're all gonna have, well, I'm gonna have for, I'm sure he probably answered it somewhere. Where what exchanges is he working with on the back end? Do you know?
I'm not really sure, and it's in beta, so I think it's like basically it's built on something called Olympus, which is their fiat to Lightning ramp that they built. But I don't know the details of all of that, but I'm sure he has some sort of like liquidity provider or OTC desk or somebody in the background that continuously does it. Essentially, he receives big cash, pays out the Lightning invoice, and buys more Bitcoin with it. Or I think that's their business model, and they take a small vig on that, and then they make it easy for everybody. And essentially, you receive Bitcoin as a merchant, which is very nice if if you don't have a bank. And it looks like a killer product to me.
Oh yeah, no, this looks absolutely awesome. All right, can't wait to hang out with Jack over at Unconfiscatable in Vegas. All right, so speaking of actual contributions to Bitcoin and being useful to society, here we go. Really cool article in Medium, onboarding to Bitcoin Core. It's basically an article. I mean, I read most of it. It's more for developers. My developer days are long behind me, and I was never very good at it. And it's basically like how to get started in becoming a contributor to Bitcoin Core, how to go about making pull requests, some cool recommendations, like don't even try to learn everything in the Bitcoin code. Basically, try to specialize on something. Jack clearly decided to specialize in in second layer scaling. You recommend this article, obviously. Jimmy, any interesting details in here? Lots of links. I mean, it's good for just like links if you are going to get started as being a Bitcoin developer. Your book is obviously being mentioned right here, along with a few others.
Yeah, and Amity Otarwar, she's a core developer that's I think funded by Zoppo now. But she fantastic article. She definitely knows what she's doing, and I did a read through of this article on my channel on Monday. But basically, she goes through like her process for doing pull requests and so on, and how she got involved in Bitcoin Core. She did the very prestigious Chain Code Labs residency last summer, and she's come out guns blazing, right? I see her pull requests on GitHub all the time on Bitcoin Core and so on. So very good article for anyone that wants to get started. I know that it's on the bucket list of a lot of developers to contribute to Bitcoin Core. Well, here's your roadmap. Here's how you get that, how you mark that off of your bucket list. So I really enjoyed it. She's fantastic. Like I think she's fantastic for this space. And she's obviously a very, very good developer and knows what she's doing. So
was she in London with you guys at Advancing?
She wasn't, but she will be at, I think, Bitcoin 2020 in San Francisco, and I think she's speaking there. But yeah, just fantastic developer. She knows what she's doing and is doing very, very well with respect to core contributions. And this is what we need. We need lots of new developers continuing to sort of raise the bar on core contributions so that, we have a really secure system that we can defend against, state level actors and so on.
All right. And Amity, if you're watching, you are officially invited to speak at Understanding Bitcoin, which is a conference where developers try to educate the non-developers on how to use Bitcoin products. I will have someone more credible than myself, like a Giacomo Zucco or an Adam Back, who I'm partnering with for this conference, reach out and provide a more formal invite. We would absolutely love to have you here and to help educate the rest of us when it comes to Bitcoin development. All right, and finally, we close out on a little bit of, this is interesting news. We're definitely going to be covering this in a law show if the law show comes up again. So a former exchange operator who I believe shut down that exchange a year or two ago has been arrested. This is a Canadian story. And this exchange was predominantly used as a mixing service for the dark net markets. And Jimmy, you've read. I know I didn't send you this article ahead of time. This news just broke kind of last night.
I read the story though.
You read the story. Okay. So I don't know if I want to go first or you want to go first. There's a lot of different direction we can go with this. This is definitely controversial. Like, honestly, I can make an argument that, yeah, the guy broke the law. And, in this case, the law is probably right. But at the same time, I am, a believer in politically neutral money. I'm a believer in property rights. I'm a believer that, you should have full privacy and anonymity in your payments and transactions. So a mixing service money should be fungible. US physical dollar bills are fungible. They are designed to be fungible by the US government. So providing a way to make Bitcoin fungible should not be criminal. But in this case, it is. And I think this creates a little bit of an issue getting privacy into Bitcoin. I can, Jimmy will probably disagree with me on this. We're going to really dive deep on this with the lawyers. But I want to get Jimmy's thoughts here. Maybe he can change my mind on what I was going to say.
Well, I mean, first of all, this is very scary. You're getting arrested for providing a coin join service. And I believe he was arrested for on money laundering charges and operating a money transmission
facing 30 years
service without a money transmission license. If doing a coin join is a money transmission service, I don't know what a money transmission service is, because you literally don't control anything, any of the money at any time. Literally, the person that's signing has to do it at your request. You never actually ever have possession of any of the private keys related to the Bitcoin. So I don't know if that charge actually makes sense. The other part, which is laundering money or something like that, maybe that has more of a basis. But it is a little bit scary for a developer if you run a coin join service, or at least a centralized one, that you could get arrested. Now that said, it does seem like he might have broken the law. I would probably disagree with the law, but regardless, I mean, what's going to happen? Well, it just means that it's going to go outside the United States. Bitcoin knows no borders. If you want to do some sort of mixing service and it's based out of Russia or like South Africa or something like that, nobody really cares, right? As long as you get it mixed, and as long as there's an internet connection that's reasonably fast, you can more or less do all of this without any of that. So I mean, the feds are going after him because it makes them look good. They're shutting down, some child pornographer or drug overlord or something like that. And that's the spin that they're going to give it. But I don't think this is ultimately going to do anything for the ecosystem, because somebody else is just going to step into the market opportunity. There's a clear demand for stuff like this, especially on the darknet with Alphabay and so on, because all those people want their coins mixed and not be subject to chain analysis. So in a sense, it's going to be a hydra. They cut off one head, there's going to be like 5 more that pop up. And I mean, ultimately, what I think will happen as a result of this is that we're going to see more decentralized coin join protocols or something like that, where you maybe you can even use like Lightning, the Lightning network, to do the coin joins on your own, and then put the coin join transaction online at the same time, or something like that. There are decentralized ways to do this, although you have to mitigate for sniffers and so on. But that's what I suspect will happen. I mean, I don't think this changes all that much. There's going to be competition to this that pops up almost right away.
Yeah, so I don't know why I said Canada earlier. This is out of the U.S.
Cleveland.
Yeah. Okay, so my overall thought. So this is, again, challenging. So Bitcoin will have fungibility. The road to fungibility is not going to be easy. And because of incidents like this, people are going to be a little bit scared of building fungibility technology. Now, I think that the big problem here is that at the time that his mixing service was running, he wasn't all that shy about making deals with the darknet markets directly. I think that is the big downfall here. I think they just charged them with whatever they could, but at the end of the day, it was basically the messaging. It was they get all your files, they seize all your electronic, messages and emails and text messages, and it's the direct link to the darknet markets. Like, hey, I will provide you the service. I know that you're going to be using it for the darknet markets. Now, I think this is going to be a little more challenging to do this to people that say, hey, I'm providing the service, but I'm not like in direct connect with a lot of these darknet markets. So that's a start. If you're going to, it's kind of like, it's like the saying, you want to break one law at a time, right? Like creating a mixing service is probably on the gray side of the law. Now, you don't want to make that worse by openly going into deals with darknet markets, right? So you want to stay away from that. Now, here's where this could become a potential problem, where if you have a wallet, like say a Wasabi wallet, that will have an app, like a Wasabi app, that app may not be cleared by the Apple Store or the Android or the Google Play Store, because that app would be flagged as providing an illicit service of mixing Bitcoin that Chainalysis, goes, the trail runs cold. So if that app is, not allowed to be installed, now you have a little bit of a challenge. So now you can't install that app at all on an iPhone. You can still install it on an Android phone through an APK file that you can download off of, say, Wasabi website, which can also be flagged as an illicit website, making it challenging to find a website to actually download this APK. You can be scammed by this APK by a spoof site that you think you have a wallet, but it steals your Bitcoin. So this creates a little bit of an adoption challenge to get a lot of this anonymity technology in, if this concept is declared very, very illicit by the government. This is not going to lead to Bitcoin being illicit, but these coin joins and mixers, even when built in a decentralized, even when built in an anonymous kind of way where you don't have a single person to go after or a single entity to go after, it still could be a challenge getting into the hands of the average consumer. Now, for the crazies that think that Monero solves this problem, it doesn't. Because if, let's say, Binance or other exchanges are not allowed to accept Bitcoin that has moved through the mixing service, or if, say, a Bitcoin wallet app that is a mixing service or a wallet app with the mixing service is not allowed in the Play Store access to consumers, then probably within months or days, for the same reason that app for Bitcoin is not allowed, any Bitcoin wallet that has Monero in it or any other, Bean or Grim or whatever those other privacy coins are, if that coin prides itself that we are private and you can't track our transactions, then any wallet that has that coin for you, their native wallet or something like Jax or whatever, let me not God, no, please don't use that one. Maybe an Edge or something. Any wallet that has privacy coins in it would be in violation of the same thing. So Monero will not save you. If the concept of a privacy crypto is illegal, then any app that touches Monero will not be allowed in a regulated way. So just keep that in mind as well. We will explore this much further in the law show. Jimmy, any other thoughts on this?
It's kind of a sad situation. Hopefully this isn't the beginning of a lot of federal prosecution or something like that. But Matt Corallo said something about this, which was interesting. He thinks that we should be defending this guy as much as possible and, find them good lawyers and stuff, because if he goes to prison for writing code, then that's not a good situation for a lot of us.
I know, but he's making our life very difficult because he's not going to prison for writing code. He's going to prison for directly making deals with darknet markets, right?
Yeah. I mean, we'll see exactly what the issues are, but I think the thing that we want to prevent is developers start getting arrested for writing code.
No, I understand that, but when you have these developers openly saying use my thing and then you can go safely shop on darknet markets to buy illicit things, that does also make other Bitcoin developers look bad. So I may have to disagree with Matt Corallo on this a little bit here, right? Look, I understand that coding this stuff deserves defending, but some people just make bad decisions outside of the actual code that they do.
Yeah, whatever the case, I just think it's I think we have to be kind of careful here.
All right. So Jimmy, let's promote your stuff a little bit. We got Jimmy has a couple of books out. One of them is Programming Bitcoin, and the other one is the Little Bitcoin book. Tell us a little bit about them. Haven't been on the show in a while.
Yeah, so programming Bitcoin is for developers. If you are a developer and want to learn about programming Bitcoin, that's the book to get. It takes you step by step through the protocol and all of the things that you need to know about it. The Little Bitcoin book is a book essentially for pre-coiners, for people that don't know much about Bitcoin. But even if you know something about Bitcoin, it's a good way to solidify your understanding and sharpen your argument so you can present Bitcoin in a reasonable way to other people. I have my seminar, Programming Blockchain, coming up. Yeah, so locations is the one.
I know, I was
where you
gonna
can
click on it
that.
first. And then
Yeah,
locations, okay.
so yeah, I have one that was supposed to happen next week in Las Vegas. We'll see about that one. San Francisco, March 25th and 26th. This is going to be right before Bitcoin 2020, and Antwerp, Belgium, April 23rd and 24th. This is right before the Bitcoin Reformation Conference. So it's going to be, a lot of stuff happening over the next few months, and going into the halving, I'm sure it's going to be really, really exciting for everybody.
All right, very, very cool. So check out Programming Bitcoin. All right, guys, Jimmy will also take part in the Unconfiscatable conference in Las Vegas, happening next weekend with lots of other great speakers. Check it out. We got a poker tournament on Sunday, carnivory dinner on Friday, pinball tournament going on at the Pinball Hall of Fame on Thursday night. There's other workshops along the way. We have Socrates doing finance and trading along with myself, and Giacomo Zucco teaching a workshop on how to use Bitcoin. There's also a free workshop on how to set up a crypto hedge fund from Alex Mascoli. So check that out as well. You can still register for this. Seats are limited, but it is free with your conference ticket. So you got to have a conference ticket, and then this workshop is free, and it lasts a couple hours. All right. Other than that, as mentioned earlier, understanding Bitcoin, we'll try to get Jimmy's commitment for this during Unconfiscatable. This is the slightly, I wouldn't say it's a developer-focused conference, but all the speakers are developers. I do like to tailor this to non-developers by developers. And of course, the Financial Summit happening April 19 to 25 in Dominican Republic, and Bali, Indonesia, November 1 to 7 for traders and hedge funds mostly. All right. And on this note, I know everyone wants to hear the price of Bitcoin. We're going to end this show, but come back in 20 minutes, and I will be joined by Socrates for a full trading Bitcoin episode. So we are going to end the stream here. We'll fire up a new one. So come back at the top of the hour, and we will cover the price of Bitcoin and maybe some other assets. And on this note, I'm signing off. And Jimmy?
Well, fiat delenda est, this song is done.
Bye, guys.